Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today. Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
All right, welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast, Kevin and Chuck. Well, I think today we're going to do a coronavirus update. Now, I know we've been getting a lot of those lately, and, I don't want it to overtake our show, but definitely when a prepping event comes into play, I mean, hey, this is why we're here, right? This is
Right.
something that we all been kind of planning on and doing, and things that, we look into. So basically, there's a lot of different stories coming out around the world, and there's a lot of states that have already shut down, like complete quarantine. And there's a lot of states in some kind of weird mid stages of quarantine and things like that. And I kind of, just wanted to check in with everybody and see. I did post a couple of posts and concerns that I had. One of them was, first I kind of asked you guys, took a poll of who actually knows somebody who has, coronavirus, or at least the symptoms of coronavirus, be it the cough, the fever, and the constant headaches or something. It actually said that the cough was the primary symptom, then the fever, then the headaches were like the lesser of the bunch of symptoms. So it kind of varies. But anyway, I put out this poll, and it seemed like, I think it really varies by what region you're in and where you're at. Because we had I'd say about 70% didn't know a single person and didn't know anything going on as far as people and things they've actually seen firsthand, just maybe stories they've heard. And nobody even really, of that group of 70%, they weren't even like, oh, but my sister in California or whatever, wasn't that tragic at the moment. Now, things are obviously escalating. Now, there was about 30%, and here's the weird thing. So of the 30%, they seem to come with big, I know 10 people, or I know, this guy who knows these 5 people with, the symptoms, and my neighbor across the street and the guy down the road. And it's just pretty dramatic. So I think when it hits, it seems like it is a real thing. And, it does seem to sweep through pretty quickly once it's in your area.
Right.
Now,
well, I've seen a lot of stuff, saying that in the majority of the United States, it's not going to peak for a couple of weeks to even a couple of months. So we're really just ramping up in the United States. And maybe that's hype. I don't want to be the guy spreading fear. But, I mean, if you're listening to this show about prepping and you've, saved up a couple of weeks of food and things like that.
Shouldn't be fear, right?
Shouldn't be fear, but you might want to keep your eyes open for any supplies that you're going to run short of, whether it's toothpaste or soap. There are going to be things that, we had the shortage on toilet paper, and I think that's going to be over in a couple of weeks. They were kind of ramping up toilet paper production in the U.S. Yeah. I've been keeping an eye on it. Thank God. So most of the companies have already done 20% more toilet paper this month than they did last month as far as production goes.
Wow.
So at least in the U.S., the toilet paper is one of the few things we actually make here in the U.S. anymore. So,
and that's, hey, you got to have your priorities, and that's what right. I say, something to go. All right. So the next post I dropped, and maybe this warrants a little bit of discussion, is so when you're not going and dealing with your day-to-day colleagues, maybe you're a college student, maybe you work somewhere, you whatever, when you go and socialize and talk to the people, maybe it's the people at the Boy Scout meetings, or maybe it's the 4-H or just your regular job, or when you go to your college class, you talk to people. When you get isolated and are told to stay home and don't go, and like your work shuts down, a lot of states right now have bars and restaurants not being open, although they seem to be pulling off some kind of drive-through situation that I feel like is keeping a lot of people still employed. Whereas some other states are, tighter shut down.
Right.
I know, California and Pennsylvania said they were doing a complete shutdown. How are you doing up in New York? What do you guys do there?
They pretty much shut everything down. Everything's closed. All the main businesses are closed aside of convenience stores, grocery stores, basically the priorities. The beer and liquor store still open. That's
nice
priority. I'll tell you what, man. Yesterday. I'll tell you what, if I have to sit at home all day with no beer, no whiskey, things are going to get bad quick.
Yes. No, I definitely went and bought 3 bottles of Southern Comfort yesterday. So, things are looking up. Mm-hmm. And some kind of apple pie moonshine or something,
that stuff is terrible, man. I can't handle that that
it tastes moonshine. Like fireballs.
That
was my experience. So anyway, but
so sorry to get not to get sidetracked. Yeah, we were I'm still working because I have quote unquote a necessary job.
Now,
but
that's
where I was is telecommunicating, and a lot of people are starting to do that now. So if you can get your company to do that and you're out of work, do that.
And they can't do a drug or alcohol test while you're telecommuting.
That's true. Very true.
I'm just saying, if you wanted to be drinking on the job, I don't know. Now, maybe you're the 911 dispatcher. Maybe that's the best.
maybe that's not the guy that should be drinking.
Right. But, somebody else, if you're me, if you're like, hey, you're calling Walmart customer service, let me help you. And you're like, hey, I'm feeling pretty good. How about you? That's hey, to each his own, right?
That's right.
So actually where I was going with this is, so the post, what I was looking for is, what do you guys think? If you're not having your day-to-day face talking about, and you're not hearing what's going on in your community, and all that you're exposed to is just what you see on social media and stuff, how easy would it be for people to manipulate what's actually going on? And then I would say, let's take it to the next step and go one further and say, what happens if your internet shuts down? Would you chalk it up to, somebody didn't go to work because they have coronavirus? And, maybe it's just my area. I don't know that all of America just started falling apart or, whatever. Mm-hmm. How do you stay in communication and kind of, still stay in touch with the world when you don't have social interaction? I mean, even if you're like, well, I talked to my 3 neighbors, but that's still a very closed, view of the world.
And it's still, it's like playing telephone with this sort of stuff. What if, what are the news sources you go to? Do you have multiple areas where you can get it from?
Right. And that's the thing. If it's not, if the internet goes down, what happens? I mean, how do you panic, or are you just like, well, it's just mine? You don't know, because you don't have that further out. So that might be some incentive, some kind of push for you to get into maybe ham radio, CBs, that kind of stuff, right? Stuff
Right.
where you can have HF long distance stuff, or like that. So something to consider, something maybe to add to your preps, and realize, if you were getting the real story from people, you could have a better picture. Now, obviously, you could get the Survival and Basic Badass podcast, and we'd keep you up to date on everything. So
Right.
if things did go down, I guess you can't really email me and I send you an episode. I'll tell you what, I wonder if I could text. I don't think that would work. Text you a copy of the podcast. I feel like the internet would still be required in sending out this information. We're going to have to try that out. I know that I can send like 1 minute segments. Maybe we'll have the 1 minute update, to survival. The update.
It seems like
survival.
it might be easier to risk going out into the world and finding a newspaper
than getting your information from Chuck.
If the internet goes down.
Right. Okay. All right. I'm just saying, keeping our options open. That's what I got.
Well, we'll have to go back to sending out a newsletter.
Now, what if we did the podcast over ham radio or whatever, huh? That's maybe the answer.
Maybe we could set up between this time and that time. Weekly
the ham radio broadcast of.
I saw that.
I think I might have to clean up my potty mouth if we're broadcasting, though.
No. Shame on you for even thinking that way. No censoring. We'd have to do what was Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater. Remember that old movie where he did the pirate radio station? Yeah.
Yes. That was the dream right there.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's a rock star, right?
We can prank call our congressman.
Whatever happened to Christian Slater? Is he just old and washed up, or is he still
I think he went bald.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not all of us can stay beautiful,
No, just you and me.
Just you and me. That sounds right. All right. So moving right along, I did see people are posting letters they're getting, and some people even had a car badge or something they could hang from their windshield, depending what state you're in, where they have a letter that says this person is an emergency responder because they work for Cox Cable. And I'm like, wait a minute. Because I feel like our infrastructure, cops and all that, should be able to function in hospitals without the internet. I know everyone uses the internet, but I feel like the government and emergency situation stuff shouldn't shut down because cable TV and internet go out.
Right.
I feel like that's not really an emergency. I feel like you're cutting down on the people out in the world, but you're but I still want to see friends. That was a TV show back 100 years ago for those of you that didn't. I don't know why people watch Aniston. What do they watch?
Are they gone?
The Masked
I don't
Singer?
know. I hope it's not The Big Bang Theory. I saw that one time, and it was the worst 20 minutes of my life.
I don't know. We're bad. So just, I think a lot. It's just really a time to reflect and see all your stores and check on things. See on your inventory. You're realizing where you fall short. A big thing for me is, and that's part of, I was worried about moving, was because you kind of lose all that stuff in the transition. All my long-term food storage is still safe and moved with me and is in good condition. But I had kind of think of an extra pantry than your normal person. I mean, this was loaded shelves that I kept in a utility room I had. But, I'd have 10 boxes of pasta. And these were the kind of things that aren't going to last 5 years or more, but they'll probably last 2, that you kind of work through in your prepper rotation and day to day. We actually, right before we moved, kind of used up a lot of that. And a lot of that didn't get replaced as quickly because in my mind, I'm like, well, we have, the long-term food storage, so whatever.
Right.
But that stuff's pretty expensive, and I hate to burn through that when I could have bought a bunch of, $150 at Sam's Club goes a long way on,
Right.
On perishable food, I guess is where I'm going with that. So that's something to consider. Just, that supplies get weak. Your toilet paper, maybe your toilet paper stuff had slipped for a little bit. Maybe, a mouse got in it or something. These are the kind of things that as a prepper, you're like, hey, it really could happen. The one thing I will say is now that Cheaper Than Dirt's like trying to sell bullets for like $3 a piece for AR bullets. I haven't looked this morning. I don't know where they're at, but I'm glad I'm not in a position because, right now I'm kind of comfortable where I can still shoot target ammo and not even care that I'm wasting it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whereas some people are like desperate to get anything.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh my God, bullets, they're all sold out. Now, I actually was going to purchase a deer rifle, and now I'm kind of holding off because I hear that there's big lines on the NICS system, which is the background check that, they call or run through the internet when, when you go to buy a gun. I hear there's like a big wait, like, oh, there's 900 people ahead of you in line. And so that kind of put the damper on it. Not necessarily that the prices have changed. I just feel like I can't go pick it up, So that kind of, hurt me a little bit in my mind, but you never know. I do know I have some black rifles if things come into that.
Well, I'll tell you a couple of things that I found were helpful is I had to do some clean out my kitchen, clean out my cupboards, and just go through everything. And I honestly found a lot of stuff that I had stashed that I was about to run out of. I found an extra tube of toothpaste, and I was low on that. A lot of the stuff, when you do this all the time, sometimes things get a little disorganized and piled up. I thought I was going to have to go out and get another thermometer, but I dug through my medicine cabinet and, organized it, found it in there. So it's, might be a good time. You're home all day. Might be a good time to kind of purge all the stuff that's trash, empty cardboard boxes that you have in your medicine cabinet that used to have something in it. And you got one little tab left of NyQuil and you've got little, the entire box in there. Go through and see what you got and kind of take stock, because you'll have a better idea of what you might be needing in the near future. And, you can keep your eyes open for it,
Yeah, my experience, like our grocery stores were kind of wiped out right away, but things seem to be getting back to, stocked again because more people kind of grabbed what they needed in their emergency panic buy. And then now, the shelves are starting to come back a little bit. Things are working out. But, I don't know. It really depends where you are. A lot of you guys might live in areas that are kind of people are panicking and things are getting crazy. I think where I am, I'm a couple weeks behind, everybody else. So I get kind of a different view of things. Also, I live pretty far out in the country, I was just laughing because it's about 4 miles to go into town, and going into town is a blinking yellow light. And we have a hardware store that's also an auto parts store. And by auto parts store, think about as much auto parts as Lowe's sells. So, it says something. And then and then I have a post office, and I have a town hall that's open on Tuesdays.
Right. Nice. That's the right amount of government right there.
That's, I did good, right? Yeah, we're open on Tuesdays for 2 hours, Yeah.
Now, I'm a strong proponent of utilizing your town government, and also I'm a huge advocate of not paying taxes. So that seems like the perfect mix for me right there.
Yeah. All right, that seems fair. Although, and like the other day, I go through town. I haven't figured out somehow. I don't know how fast you have to drive in the state that I live in to get a ticket, but I know that it's very common to be on, well, one, none of the roads seem to have speed limit signs, so I assume it's 55. Don't really know. But I know I keep going by cops at like 75, and they're just like, hey, how's it going? Wave, bye.
Mm-hmm.
And then I drive through town, and it's like 35 mile an hour up to our blinking light. And like, it turns 35 like a mile before you hit the light. And so there's really nothing. Like, oh, you just passed the hardware store. You should slow down. And then, so I roll by there going like 65 in the 35. And I see the sheriff and he throws me a wave. Hey, good to see you. And I'm like, all right, I guess things are good here. I don't know. I'm still getting used to this different lifestyle.
Now, I've seen a lot of shortages on soap. So I just wanted to throw out some ideas for any of you guys that might be running low on soap and can't seem to find it.
Watch Fight Club.
Yeah, there you go. Make your own soap. Usually you can find bar soap, and I know a lot of you guys are married and have wives that want the fancy scented pump soap. Yeah. And you might have to suck it up. Sorry, you might have to suck it up, but you can use bar soap, and that's not the end of the world. If you can't find bar soap and you can't find the regular hand pump soap, you can sanitize your hands with like a rubbing alcohol. Rinse it off with water when you're done. Might dry your hands out a little bit. Don't be, my recommendation on that is to don't be a bitch. You can make bleach go a long way. A gallon of water and a half a cup of bleach, you can disinfect half of your house. Yes. And keeping the hard surfaces wiped down is probably not a bad idea at this situation, especially if my wife went through breast cancer last year, and she's still got a lowered immune system because of that.
Right.
So it's really something I'm not trying to bring home. So keeping your hands clean, keeping surfaces clean, wipe your doorknobs down, that sort of stuff will go a long way, and just kind of keeping the pandemic outside your front door.
That, I think, it's just good advice. I am a little extra hand washing. When I walk in and out of work, they have hand sanitizer right there, on the wall on a dispenser that I'm happy to, squirt out a little new hand sanitizer every day in and every day out before I go home to my family. I think about any time I go spend money, I always kind of try and work it out so that I don't get change or whatever. Now is probably the time to actually use your check card or something so that, you're not dealing with dirty cash. Just remember,
every dirty fucker that comes through there is pressing those same buttons that you are on that machine. Right. So just keep your mind, just think about that.
When you're out doing transactions, hitting the hand sanitizer, I know everyone's like, there is no hand sanitizer. I don't know. Luckily, one of my kids hasn't cleaned their bedroom in like 5 years. Yep. So because of that, they get all these like little scented hand sanitizer things for gifts. It turns out like any item you move in there, you find another jar of hand sanitizer.
Clean up your goddamn mess in your house. You got the time to do it. You're going to find all sorts of gems in there.
I was actually
recommendation. We have a lot of guys that are like, I don't know, between 17 and 25 that live on their own and are disgusting pigs like I am.
Yes.
And they don't have a wife to clean up after them.
Oh, that's different.
So now this is your time, buddy. This is your time to get
your time to shine.
Yeah. Clean your shit up.
I used to, when I was in day to day in people's houses and stuff, like around flu season or something, I just always made sure that I had a thing of hand sanitizer in the back, one of the pumps or whatever. And it got to the point where, I'm refilling it, but I only think of it when I'm out on the road. I'm like, oh, I didn't. And so the little jar of hand sanitizer would be like $5 or whatever, instead of $1.99 or whatever it was at the grocery store before the apocalypse, Mm-hmm. Then I was like, wait, I can go to Sam's Club and buy like the gallon jug with the squirt and refill it myself.
Right.
And, and then I started doing that. You really should have that kind of thing. Now, I didn't actually have that anymore after the move. I don't know what happened to it, if we burned through it or what. But I mean, I still have more than plenty. And like I said, at my work site, and really you should be kind of trying to practice social distancing, Why expose your family to that kind of risk, of going out? Go out for what you need, but don't go out for what you don't. That's
Right.
choose your priorities. One of my relatives is a postal worker, and they're
Right.
they're posting that 24 hours on paper is what COVID-19 is supposed to be contagious, is
That's
what
max.
what they're telling postal workers. I don't know. Everyone's like, oh, you should only trust the CDC because they know. And yet their opinions seem to change every 2 weeks on what's
Hmm.
contagious, what's not, what you should be afraid of. The one that I keep finding amusing is face masks won't do anything for you. Well, no, for the average citizen, it says they're
Right.
not going to help you in any way. Then, if you have face masks and you've been hoarding them, you need to turn those over to
To the
emergency
hospital.
professionals
Right.
because they need
Exactly.
to wear them to deal with the COVID-19 patients.
Hmm.
And I'm like, wait, they need to wear them to not catch the virus, but I don't need to wear it because it won't help me.
Right.
I'm not sure how that works. I haven't been able to wrap my mind around that. At
Right.
first, at first I was like, well, maybe they need them at the hospitals to work on other patients who are sick and have different diseases that you catch by not wearing a mask. But then I keep seeing things with pictures of, the EMT showing up at the house to take out the COVID-19 victims. And they're like,
Right.
look, this guy doesn't even have a mask to wear. What can he
Right.
do? And I'm like,
Seriously.
wait a
You
minute, you
know.
guys are getting out of hand.
Yeah. And now I know a lot of you guys might not think about it, but those dust masks that you can wear,
Yes.
just the basic ones that you might have in a toolbox or sitting
Yeah.
around in a bag somewhere. If you put those on, you pinch the nose thing shut, and you're just out in public, that's just as good as wearing one of those medical face masks.
Yeah.
That's not. Let me not rephrase that. It's not just as good, but it's better than nothing if you have to be around people that are coughing.
Now, what I do is I go out, I wear a full on ski mask, with the two
Uh huh.
holes for the eye and the little cutout.
Right.
And then I just
Right.
throw it in the washing machine. Sure,
Yeah.
I
Well,
get little strange looks when I'm out at the grocery store. It might
I
be
was out at my
because I'm
bank the
carrying
other
a
day.
gun on my hip too.
Yeah, no, I was out at the bank the other day, and a guy came in a ski mask, and I was like, "Oh shit!" But it turns out they're just there to rob it. So I was like,
Oh,
"Woo!"
it wasn't
That's from
COVID
the disease, at
19.
least.
Yeah, right. You were like, he might be infected. And then,
Right.
no, you're
No,
safe.
we're all right.
So that's, to each his own, right? I don't know. I mean, I know we're making light of it, and as some people, if it's affected your community, it is kind of a serious thing. A lot of younger people, it's not such a big thing, but the idea is that you can carry it and bring it to other people, help, spread the disease. And, it does seem to hit, older people pretty hard, and they just can't handle the lung, infections and that kind of thing that come with
Right.
it.
And keep your
So
phlegmy fingers to yourself. Nobody,
yes,
nobody needs to
you
be dealing
know,
with that.
if you're washing your hands, you'd be all right.
Right.
And
Right.
I do see people sharing on Facebook and stuff about, if you were the big prepper and stuff, helping out your neighbors, those who shouldn't be going out. If you can
Hmm.
drop off some supplies or just even check in, hey, what do you guys need? Maybe you
Yeah,
can
and I
help them
actually
out.
did some trading with a neighbor. I mean, it's not awful. I've got toilet paper and I've got
Wait,
soap.
you live in New
And but
York. Do you have to report this to the government? Do you have to pay them, send them some
you're supposed
tax?
to, yeah, you're supposed to pay a tax on anything that you
Okay.
get from trading or bartering.
All
But
right.
we'll see if they see that check. Maybe an extra 15 cents this year. We'll see what happens. But I had all sorts of pasta, and my daughter loves fettuccine alfredo.
Yes.
What I didn't have was fettuccine, so I had spaghetti Alfredo, rigatoni Alfredo. It's just not right. It's just not the same. So I traded my neighbor a couple rolls of toilet paper and a container of the pump hand soap, and got some feta. She brought fettuccine over. So
Nice.
now we're all set.
Hey, well, all I know is I can eat mac and cheese and tuna fish for a while. I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty. I see these stupid ass posts where, somebody will post, hey, the government should go door to door, and anybody who has more than 2 weeks of food, they should just take it. And you know what? If you're somebody who's listening to this podcast, you've been preparing for a long time. You have stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to run out and buy 2 weeks of food because you have 2 weeks of food. I'm not saying I didn't buy 1 or 2 extra bulk items that I'm like, ooh, that's a good time to,
Right.
make sure I have that and make sure things are stocked up. But I didn't have to go in and wipe out a store. I didn't buy any more than a normal grocery run. I just picked stuff that would, stretch the budget a little bit longer and go a little further. And that's my point. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying you guys aren't the problem. You guys already had the majority of your supplies in place. You guys had the toilet paper on your shelf. I didn't go buy more toilet paper. I didn't have to. I'm like, whatever. Problem solved.
Same here. Same here. And the same thing with food. I've seen really disappearing a lot flour and sugar, which blows my mind, because how many people really at home are using flour and sugar every day in their day-to-day cooking? Not many. Unless your hobby is baking, not many people are going through that stuff. I don't think half the people in this country know what to do with flour if they had it.
I wouldn't know.
I'll tell you what you can do, though. You might not be able to find flour, but you can find brownie mix.
Yes.
That's just as good,
Oh, and so I don't know if you guys remember, but a while back I was big on, I was like, don't worry, I'm going through the apocalypse with brownies. And I had a bunch of, from my Patriot Supply, a bunch of brownie mix. And I was like, I'm golden. You guys, the end of the world's going to suck. Me, I'm eating brownies, And a bunch of you guys wrote to me and were like, we went on their website and they don't have any and I don't know what to do. I want brownies too. I understand. I feel your pain. All right. First of all, let's just make that clear. Nobody wants to go through the apocalypse without brownies. So I get that. I feel you. So they're shoving all the prepper stuff in my face lately on Amazon. I don't know why. I assume because everyone's scared and panic buying. But the stuff's way marked up. But anyway,
this is not the time to buy your long-term bulk supply.
Nope.
This is not it.
MREs
if you can make it through a couple more months,
make
it. If you can survive a couple months, don't buy anything like that now.
Yeah. One of the guys I work with he likes to stand out. He likes to have his own thinking. We'll say that. And he brings an MRE for lunch every day. Not what I would do. I don't think they're that tasty. I feel like I could spend my $6 or whatever on a
they
meal.
taste like shit. And I mean, honestly, maybe he just has a shortage of toilet paper.
Right.
Because they will keep you from shit, and you won't shit for a fucking month.
Keep you from shit, and they come with their own little packet of toilet paper and MRE.
Ooh, that's right.
Just something to think about. So anyway, well, my point is, so another coworker comes in, hey man, where do you get those MREs? How much are they? And we just looked at him and laughed, and we're like, yeah, dude, it's too late. You don't buy MREs now. And he's like, what do you mean? And we're like, yeah, they're like $300 for, a 12 pack or something now,
Stupid,
It's not the time to be like, hey, MREs, that's what I should have bought. Yeah, no, that we're like, dude, that window closed. Just walk back out. Whatever idea you had, let it go. That's not that ship's gone. So that's something to, not the time. Anyway, I got distracted. So where I was going is they're shoving all this prepper food stuff in my face, and that Agassiz Foods, is that the one that's the Mormons?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Anyway, they have like the number 10 can size buckets. They're cardboard or whatever. They're not metal anymore, but and of Agassiz Foods, if you search on Amazon, they have brownie mix. So, not saying now. I'm saying in a year and a half, when these things are, normal again, that's the way to do it. I did hear like Mormons, I think if you're a good practicing Mormon, they actually require their people to have a year's supply of food stocked up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that they actually preach, some kind of self-reliance. Well, if you're that guy, you're feeling pretty good right now. You're like,
Yeah.
I have a year, whatever. You guys, because you can get your garden growing in a year or you got problems,
Right.
And whatever. So just something to think about. Again, Agassiz has brownie mix. That may be a priority for you. If you're just worried about the next 3 months, I think Betty Crocker has some brownie mix available.
Mm-hmm.
If you know Betty or Duncan Hines, or I don't know who the hell makes those packages of things.
If you go to the dollar store, you can find cake mix and brownie mix. If you can find that at the grocery store, it's not gone yet. And I'll tell you what, I've been saying this for years. If you're a man and you're listening to this, and you've got a woman you love in your house, there's a certain time in the month where brownies will save you a lot of headaches. I'm just putting it out there.
And also, I have to point out,
they want their brownies, and if you can get one or the other, man, it's going to save you a lot of hassle.
Exactly. And if you're a man and you didn't know that there's a certain time of the month that women need extra supplies, and you did not purchase those supplies, you might want to get on it. I don't think the rest of the world is caught on to that. I have
now. I mentioned to my wife the menstrual cup. You know what that is? Have you heard of this?
I've already secured some. We're good.
All right, so I mentioned that to her, and she told me to fuck right off with that.
Yeah, they don't like when you bring that up. That's one that you just buy a couple, discreetly put it away with the rest of the stores.
You just let her do her, and
that's one of those
with her friends.
Said it.
She could do some trading with her friends and figure out. I'm not going to go talk to a guy at work and be like, "Hey, do you have any extra pads at your house?" My wife is looking. Nah, that ain't me. That's her job to secure that.
Yeah, that's one of those preps where they're like, set it and forget it, where you get and you just put away and problem solved. And I don't want to hear or think about it again. And I got you. So I don't know. We just had the update. We wanted, you guys to know that, I don't want to spread vicious rumors, and I haven't gotten really the facts. So these become rumors, and I hate to do it. But the sister-in-law's in Florida and said that while she was in Walmart shopping, the National Guard came and shut it down. And that to me is shocking. I don't know. Like, I understand the government saying, hey, starting tomorrow at 5:00, Walmart's over. But I don't see the come in and shut it down. So I haven't gotten in touch with her to really drill her down on the details. What I am curious, I said this to the wife, and she looked at me like I was crazy. And I'm like, no, you're crazy. But so the idea is, why are they moving tanks all around? Why, if you want martial law,
use a tank for?
Do you need a tank, right? I'm like, and my wife's like, well, it scares people. And I'm like, yeah, but so does a machine gun on a Hummer, where I know you can shoot like 100 rounds a second and mow me down. That scares me pretty good. Or mini guns on Blackhawks that you could just roll in. And if I'm hiding in the forest, you can just cut the forest down in front of me to shoot me with a minigun. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, belt-fed weapons, you don't need a tank when you're like trying to do crowd control. You're not like, hey, we need the 5-incher over here. Bring it in. I don't see it. But she's like, no, it scares people. I'm like, belt-fed weapons scare me if I'm in an unarmed populace.
Yeah. Why the fuck are you trying to scare people?
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, oh, that's normal. And I'm like, And then somebody else posted some kind of nonsense about it. It was like, how will we communicate if there's not the internet? And I was like, it's easy. I'm like, honey, can you get me a beer? And she does it. Like it's like that. It's not. No, that's wrong.
No, I mean, hey, listen. You know, what are you gonna do? You make her brownies while she gets you a beer.
There you go. Now I'm learning.
Marriage is give and take. You know,
give and take.
That's right.
I don't know. I'm sure I'm in trouble somehow. So I know that Phil is going to have a little message for us at the end. I think he sent us something. I actually haven't checked and listened, so maybe we'll be in trouble. But he would be our British friend and give you a little British COVID-19 update. And
now, have you heard anything from Hamish lately?
I have not. Is Australia underwater, or where are we at? I know they were all on fire, and then they were like, now we're all flooding.
Here's what frightens me about it. I thought there were like 6. He lives in Tasmania. I thought there were like 6 people in Tasmania. It was like Hamish, one of his friends, and then like 4 other dudes out there.
Right.
But they have 22 cases in Tasmania. That might be everybody there. I don't even know. 22 cases in Tasmania. So I'm trying to. I hope he's doing all right out there.
Well, Hamish, maybe send in an update on the Prepping Badass group. Let us know you're still alive. Maybe they shut off the internet to the outback. I don't know.
Who knows what's up?
But you guys need to be taking care and looking out for things. Wash your hands. Really do try and not go out. Social distancing is probably not a bad idea, just to protect the people you care about. Plus, if your job's going to give you 2 weeks off, you don't want to be sick for that 2 weeks. That would suck.
Right. And the truth is, the amount of time I'm going out there, I wouldn't be shocked. The amount of time I spend out in public just because I have to. I wouldn't be shocked if I end up getting it. You know, I'm not interested
in first responders.
They said the mild cases, and most of them are mild cases. But a mild case means in bed for 2 weeks. That's not mild.
That's not fun. You could use these 2 weeks to be working on your truck, clearing a field, all kinds of good shit.
Springtime is coming, man. We got to
do something fun with it.
All the preppers got a lot of work to do. You know, you got to be out there moving it, taking care of business.
Get that shit in the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that, stay safe, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
People's reaction to the truth comes in 3 phases. It's dismissed and laughed about, stupid little memes posted, and then it's violently opposed. People get angry. Why is this happening? And then it becomes self-evident. Now, if you're in stage 1 or stage 2 of the truth, wake up and smell the Lysol. Do your bit, protect your family, be prepared. This was your daily COVID-19 update. Goodbye. It's just the flu.
The Survival and Basic Badass podcast is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network.
Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today. Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.